Did you know that 54% of men and 31% of women over 70 still have active, satisfying sex lives? Yet most people believe intimacy ends with age. The difference between those who thrive and those who give up comes down to 5 specific mindset shifts I've identified after working with thousands of older adults. These aren't complicated techniques, they're simple mental adjustments that completely transform how you experience intimacy. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how to implement each one, including the second shift that creates immediate results the very same day you try it. Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever felt that society has written you off when it comes to intimacy and pleasure? As if crossing some arbitrary age threshold means your days of connection and passion are behind you? Working with adults in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, and I've witnessed something remarkable. The people who maintain vibrant, intimate relationships don't have special physical abilities or medical advantages. What they have are different mindsets. Today, I'm going to share the 5 specific mindset shifts that separate those who continue to enjoy fulfilling intimate relationships from those who unnecessarily give up on this vital part of human experience. These shifts aren't theoretical concepts, they're practical mental adjustments that my clients have used to transform their relationships, often after years of believing that meaningful intimacy was no longer possible for them. Before we dive in, I want to be clear. This isn't about trying to recapture your 20-year-old self. It's about embracing a richer, more authentic form of intimacy that's actually only possible with the wisdom and self-knowledge you've gained over decades. So whether you're currently in a relationship or not, whether you've felt disconnected from your intimate self for years, or are simply looking to enhance what's already working, these mindset shifts will open new possibilities for connection, pleasure, and confidence. The first mindset shift might sound simple, but it's transformative. Embracing your body exactly as it is now becomes the foundation for better intimacy. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 73-year-old widow who started dating again after losing her husband of 40 years. She came to me absolutely terrified about being seen naked by someone new. "I've got wrinkles, saggy skin, and I don't look anything like I did when I was younger," she told me. How could anyone find this attractive? This fear kept her from pursuing relationships, even when she met men she genuinely connected with. Here's what's fascinating. When I interviewed dozens of adults over 70 about what they find attractive in partners, not a single one mentioned firm skin or a youthful appearance. Instead, they talked about confidence, authenticity, and the ability to be present and engaged. The first mindset shift is moving from, "my body needs to look a certain way to be desirable," to, "my body is the vehicle for connection and pleasure exactly as it is right now." This isn't about lowering standards, it's about recognizing that the standards themselves were flawed to begin with. Here's how Margaret implemented this shift. First, she began a daily practice of appreciating her body for what it could do rather than how it looked. She would stand in front of the mirror and thank her body for its strength, its resilience, and its capacity for sensation. Second, she started focusing on the sensations of touch rather than visual appearance. When she showered, she paid attention to how the water felt on her skin. When she dressed, she noticed the textures of different fabrics. Third, she practiced positive self-talk, replacing critical thoughts with statements like, "My body has carried me through decades of life experiences, and it deserves respect and care." Within weeks, Margaret noticed something remarkable. Not only did she feel more comfortable with the idea of intimacy, but she also carried herself differently. Her confidence became attractive to others in a way that transcended physical appearance. 6 months later, Margaret was in a relationship with a man who, in her words, "celebrates my body exactly as it is." The beauty of this first mindset shift is that it creates a foundation for all the others. When you accept your body as worthy of pleasure and connection exactly as it is now, everything else becomes possible. The second mindset shift, the one that creates immediate results. The very same day you try itis, moving from a focus on performance to a focus on pleasure. Let me explain what I mean through Robert's story. Robert, at 76, came to me frustrated and embarrassed. "Things don't work the way they used to," he told me. "Sometimes I can't maintain an erection, and it makes me feel like less of a man." Robert had been avoiding intimacy with his wife of 50 years because he was afraid of failing again. Each encounter had become a test that he feared he couldn't pass. This mindset that intimacy is a performance with pass-fail criteria perhaps the most damaging belief that affects people as they age. The shift is from intimacy is about performing specific acts successfully to intimacy is about sharing pleasure and connection in whatever form that takes. Here's the remarkable thing about this shift. It creates immediate results because it instantly removes the pressure that often causes the very problems people are worried about. When Robert and his wife Carol implemented this shift, here's what they did. First, they agreed to have an intimate encounter with one rule. Intercourse was off the table. This immediately removed the performance pressure. Second, they focused entirely on giving and receiving pleasure through touch, without any goal beyond enjoying the sensations. Third, they practiced communicating in the moment about what felt good, rather than worrying about what should happen next. Robert called me the very next day, almost in tears. For the first time in years, he said, we both thoroughly enjoyed ourselves without any anxiety, and ironically, when there was no pressure to perform, my body responded better than it has in years. This shift works because anxiety and pressure are the enemies of physical arousal. When you remove the expectation of specific outcomes, you create space for your body to respond naturally. And here's something fascinating. In my work with older adults, I've found that those who embrace this pleasure-focused approach often report more satisfying, intimate lives than they had in their younger years, even if the specific activities have changed. The beauty of this second mindset shift is that you can implement it today and experience immediate benefits. Simply agree with yourself, and your partner if you have one, that the goal of intimacy is pleasure and connection, not performing specific acts in specific ways. The third mindset shift builds on the second, but takes it even deeper, focusing on connection rather than specific outcomes. Jean and Thomas, both in their mid-70s, had been married for 15 years after both losing previous spouses. They came to me because their intimate life had become routine and predictable. We do the same things in the same order every time, Jean explained. It feels more like following a recipe than expressing love. This is incredibly common. Many people develop a script for intimacy, a series of steps they follow each time. And when physical changes make parts of that script difficult or impossible, they think intimacy itself is no longer available to them. The shift is from intimacy follows a specific sequence of events to intimacy is about being fully present with each other, whatever form that takes. Here's how Jean and Thomas implemented this shift. First, they practiced what I call sensory dates, times when they would focus entirely on one sense. For example, they might spend an evening focused just on the sense of touch, exploring different textures and types of contact without any expectation of where it would lead. Second, they introduced the practice of pause points during intimate moments times, when they would stop and simply make eye contact, synchronize their breathing, and reconnect with each other's presence. Third, they began asking a new question before intimate encounters. How do we want to feel connected today? Rather than, what acts do we want to perform? The results were transformative. We've discovered forms of intimacy we never would have explored when we were younger, Thomas told me. There's a depth to our connection now that makes our previous experiences seem almost superficial. This mindset shift is powerful because it expands the definition of intimacy beyond specific physical acts to encompass the full range of ways humans can connect. It turns out that when you focus on connection rather than following a script, you discover countless ways to express intimacy that you might never have considered before. And here's what's fascinating. In studies of relationship satisfaction among older adults, the quality of connection consistently ranks as more important than the frequency or type of physical intimacy. It's not about how often or what you do, about how present and connected you are when you're together. The fourth mindset shift completely reframes how you view your age and experience. Rather than seeing your years as a disadvantage, you recognize that your experience and wisdom actually make you a better partner. Elizabeth, 68, came to me after her divorce, worried that her age would make it impossible to find a new relationship. Who would want someone my age when they could be with someone younger? She asked. This belief that youth is inherently more valuable in intimate relationships is pervasive in our culture, but completely contradicted by research on what makes relationships successful. The shift is from my age makes me less desirable to my experience and self-knowledge make me an exceptional partner. Here's how Elizabeth implemented this shift. First, She made a list of all the ways her life experience had made her a better potential partner: her emotional intelligence, her communication skills, her understanding of what truly matters in relationships. Second, she practiced articulating her value when meeting new people, not in a defensive way, but with genuine confidence about what she brought to a relationship. Third, she began seeing her age as a filtering mechanism that actually helped her identify people who valued substance over superficial qualities. Within a year, Elizabeth was in a relationship with a man who, as she put it, appreciates me precisely because of my life experience, not despite it. This mindset shift is powerful because it aligns with reality. The qualities that actually create successful, intimate relationships: emotional intelligence, communication skills, self-awareness, and the ability to be present, typically increase with age. In fact, research on relationship satisfaction shows that couples who get together later in life often report higher levels of satisfaction precisely because they bring more developed versions of these qualities to their relationships. When you embrace this mindset shift, you stop apologizing for your age and start recognizing it as the source of your greatest strengths as a partner. The fifth and final mindset shift ties all the others together, moving from embarrassment about discussing needs to open, confident communication. William and Patricia, both in their early 80s, had been married for 60 years when they came to see me. Despite their long relationship, they had never really talked openly about their intimate needs and preferences. It just wasn't something people discussed in our generation, Patricia explained. But physical changes had made their usual approach to intimacy less satisfying, and without the ability to discuss alternatives, they had simply started avoiding intimacy altogether. The shift is from "my needs and preferences are embarrassing to discuss" to "clear communication is the pathway to better connection." Here's how William and Patricia implemented this shift. First, they started with written communication, writing down things they enjoyed or would like to try, then exchanging these notes. This created a bridge to verbal communication. Second, they adopted a practice of appreciation before suggestion, always starting with what they appreciated about their intimate life before suggesting any changes. Third, they established regular check-in conversations about their intimate life, treating these discussions as normal and necessary parts of their relationship. The impact was profound. After 60 years of marriage, William told me, we're discovering new aspects of each other and ourselves. It's like a second honeymoon. This mindset shift is essential because physical changes in later life often require adaptations to how intimacy is expressed. Without the ability to communicate openly, these adaptations can't happen, and intimacy fades. But with open communication, these changes become opportunities to discover new forms of connection that might actually be more satisfying than previous patterns. Research consistently shows that couples who can communicate openly about intimacy report higher levels of satisfaction regardless of age or physical limitations. It's not the absence of challenges that creates a satisfying intimate life, it's the ability to navigate those challenges together through clear communication. We've covered the 5 mindset shifts that can transform your experience of intimacy after 70. 1. Embracing self-acceptance as the foundation. 2. Focusing on pleasure rather than performance. 3. Prioritizing connection over specific outcomes. 4. Recognizing your experience as an advantage. 5. Communicating openly about needs and preferences. These shifts aren't just theoretical, they're practical approaches that have helped thousands of older adults reclaim or enhance their intimate lives. If you found this video helpful, I've created a free guide that goes deeper into implementing each of these mindset shifts with specific exercises and practices you can try. Click the link in the description to download it. And if you'd like to see more content about thriving in the later stages of life, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future videos. Remember, intimacy doesn't end with it evolves. And with the right mindsets, that evolution can lead to the most satisfying connections of your life. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.